Auzubillahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. A great day for the nation of Pakistan and a great day for South Asian region as well. Ceasefire has been in place and ceasefire has been respected by the Pakistani side well. Let me tell you, for the first time in the history of the recent warfare conflicts that have taken place on this side of the planet, a measured response that shut the enemy down quick, but a nation that stands for peace. Let me tell you what that nation is. A nation that called for an impartial investigation into the incident that it was being blamed for. But the adversary said no. The adversary ran away. The adversary came around with war hysteria, warmongering, and decided to put the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the motherland Pakistan at risk. Valiantly defended, very fiercely defended, and an appropriate measured response to the enemy was given at the hands of Pakistan armed forces. Now, as the ceasefire has been put into place, America brokered, we are here to discuss the contours, how it is defined, and what the future holds. And with this special transmission, I'm Muzammil Khan. Joining me, Eesha Rehan. Assalamu alaikum, Eesha. How do you do?
Walaikum assalam, Muzammil. I am doing absolutely great because our brilliant Pakistani army has been protecting our land, our sea and our air, and today we stand here proud and tall because of them, because they were able to give India a befitting response. They were able to bring this aggressor to their knees by giving them not only a jaw-breaking response but a historic and heroic response.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. And what right now is transpiring on the international stage? How is the International Committee of Nations taking India? Did India lose its credibility? And if so, how much? And how did this conflict prove good for Pakistan? How did this prove to be a blessing in disguise for Pakistan? To discuss these contours, we are in our studios joined by Javed Siddiqui Saab, who happens to be a senior journalist. Now, with the years of experience, Javed Siddiqui Saab has a deep insight into political matters, and especially talking about the adversary, India, who is the aggressor here. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and a very warm welcome to PTV World. It's great to have you here. What are your thoughts?
Thank you so much. I think Pakistan, from the very beginning, from the word go, has been telling India that they should agree to an international inquiry into the Pahalgam incident. But India kept refusing it, and they kept blaming Pakistan for that Pakistan was responsible for this tragedy in Indian occupied Kashmir. And they did not accept any rational and reasonable proposal that Pakistan forwarded to overcome the crisis.
Right.
So I believe that the Indians, they were having sinister designs against Pakistan.
Right, sinister designs. I would like to introduce our second guest who happens to join us online, Brigadier retired Syed Nazir Saab. He is our senior analyst. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and a very warm welcome. And as mentioned by Javed Siddiqui Saab, that we are here now taking a deep dive into the contours of how this conflict that was started by India, the aggressor, and defended by Pakistan, the defender, was defined. Assalamu alaikum, and how do you do, sir?
Thank you indeed. I'm great and feeling great, and the whole Pakistan is feeling great. And it is a moment for Pakistan and its people all around the world as well, that Pakistan has proved its steel, its prowess, and its unity against a so-called pseudo superpower.
And my first question that I would like to put to both of you, but I would require my answer from Javed Siddiqui Saab first, is, Javed Saab, India is trying to become the new bully in the region. India is trying to become a hegemon in the region, you know, with the proud mindset, believing in a farcical story of being superior to any other race, this Hindutva Brahman mindset that is found on the Indian side, and the way that they've kept their people in an information blackout. How do you see that India was responded at the hands of Pakistan, and what message does this hold for the International Committee of Nations?
I think you have rightly pointed out that India wants to emerge as a bully, as a superpower of this region. But Pakistan has always refused, and Pakistan has always resisted this desire of India, this ambition of India to emerge as a superpower, regional bully and dictates its terms to the neighboring countries. Uh, we must understand that India has so many disputes not only with Pakistan but with all neighbors, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Maldives, all Sri Lanka as well. So they have never had any comfortable relations with any of their neighbors, including Pakistan. So, but despite all these disputes, and despite all these bullying tactics that India has been employing in the past, the world powers, some of the world powers have been patting India to become a regional bully, a regional chaudhry, and finally India is trying to become the permanent member of the United Nations Security Council with the help of some important powers of the world. But now Pakistan's response to India on a fabricated and concocted incident in Indian held Kashmir, it has brought India to its knees, and the world has been given a message that despite all these ambitions of India, India cannot become a superpower, regional or global. And Pakistan has given a befitting response to India on trumped up charges against Pakistan. So I think India has learned a lesson that it will not repeat this mistake in future. And the more important thing is that in this whole saga, in this whole incident, the issue of Kashmir has emerged as a central issue, and now the world is focusing on the resolution of Kashmir issue. And President Trump, which has led this effort to bring about a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, has said that he would be pleased to play a role of a mediator on the issue of Kashmir. And I think that is what Pakistan has always been desiring. Pakistan has proposed to India and other neighboring countries and even to the UNSC that Pakistan is ready to a mediated solution between India and Pakistan, which India has always denied and refused to. So I think this is the time, and despite Indians' sinister and nefarious designs, the issue of Kashmir has emerged as a central issue after this conflict.
Rightly so, and Alhamdulillah, Pakistan stands for peace, Pakistan stands tall, and Pakistan stands strong. Now, DGISPR's press conference last night was something that the world saw, and world saw the stance that we took with the proofs that we provided. Now, Brigadier Syed Nazir Saab, what do you think? Same question. India is trying to emerge as the new bully in the region. India is trying to, and as rightly so said by Javed Siddiqui Saab, that India is trying to become the new Chaudhry in this part. And India tried to test our nerve, but the response that India got was something that was out of their imagination. What are your views on this?
Yes, of course, it's a very good question for the reason that in South Asia, and especially once we call it the Asian century, and then the whole world is looking towards the Asia because it has got a big population and market as well. And besides that, India was emerging, and especially the West plus America, they were supporting him against China. And they were giving him all sort of weapons, all sort of diplomatic support, and all sort of space in the world politics. And they were joining various forums in the world. And this particular approach which they were adopting, so they were getting high on their expansion. And they were thinking that the surrounding the neighboring countries, they are small flies in front of them, and they were bullying them, and in a way that it was unbecoming of a state. So, but Pakistan was a stumbling block in the way they were thinking, and more so, they were thinking that they are probably the bulwark against China. But all their supporters, all their the world powers who are supporting them and giving them all sort of arms. Now this was a defining moment that they committed a mistake this time, and so they were. This was a new normal for them that anything happening in India, they were pasting it on the Pakistan face. But this time, I suppose, it was a bloody blow, and they got a bloody nose. And now the way it was done, they were completely surprised, bamboozled, and their leadership was clueless, and even their military doctrine was buried deep into the muds of in the muds of all India around. They are only their ashes are there. For the reason I must explain at this particular moment that number one, they were telling the lie to their nation as well as to the world. Number two, they were lying about the Pahalgam episode, and more so, they were having the doctrine of limited war under the nuclear warhead. They were having the habit of strategic strikes against Pakistan. But this doctrine has also been buried deep. And now the way Pakistan responded, they were completely, their armed forces never knew that what is happening to them. Their force, and especially the Rafale, which they got, and they were so proud of it, it was completely blinded. And third thing is that their S-400 system, which they bought on a hefty amount, it was first blinded, it was incapacitated, and then it was destroyed. So there was nothing left in their kitty to come against Pakistan. So then, and they were telling their people lies, and their media was almost bizarre. It was not having any respect to the norms of international media as well as the journalism. So now they are in a flex, and that's why they approached the superpower to save us at this particular moment. So the moment is that now Kashmir issue has come to the forefront, and it will be the way they did that 370 and imposed it on the Kashmiris. So Article 370 again, now it is a question mark on their face, and the Indus Water Treaty again, that will be restored, and there will be no negotiation on that. And the third thing is that their desire to be a superpower or their dreams, they've also been smashed, because it has not been able to face a country like Pakistan, which defense budget is only about $9 to $10 billion, whereas their defense budget is $74 to $75 billion. So all these things, once it is happening in series, and they are getting disrespect, and etc., they are getting hopeless. So what they will be thinking? We imagine the plight and the disarray in the Indian ranks, their army, their force, their navy, as well as their political leadership, and more so the RSS and Hindutva. So all these things have been put on the question mark.
Very eloquently expressed. My co-anchor over here, Eesha, Rehan and I, we were discussing the meeting that happened last night, and it was broadcasted on the national broadcaster for the world to see. Eesha, you were talking about how DG ISPR mentioned that Pakistan is a peace-loving nation. What was your take on it?
Exactly. You know, I loved how DG ISPR portrayed the moral and ethical values of the Pakistani army. It was stated by him that we will never target civilians. Our religion, culture and professionalism does not allow us to do so. So how does this reflect on the Indian military's professionalism and international laws that they blatantly disregarded? Brigadier Saab, are you with us? Yeah, I'm here. The question is to me. Yes, the question is directed to you.
Actually, I suppose this is the time that Pakistan, being a small country, of course, India is a big country, and it has got a big mass as well as population, and more so, they call it Shining India, and their budget and their economy is also in a strong rising position. But at the same time, I must tell that it is a big country, but there are small people who are ruling it. There is a big chair, but on the big chair, their small man is sitting. And then they, in their mindset, they are a sort of what you say that they've cocooned a sort of misperception around their whole country, and they've given that particular message to the world as well as to their people. They are thinking that what they want to do in the region, they've got a free hand. And more so, nobody will stand against them because they think that they are big. But this all edifice which they made around their selves or their country, this particular edifice was built on the false foundation. It was built on something which you call it bullying, jingoism, and then extension of their power, so-called power all around. Look at the Bangladesh, which has gone from their domination to complete independence, and look at China, the way economically it has grown, and the way the Pakistan, it is also on its own feet, and the only adversary against Pakistan is India. So it is also standing tall on the borders. And then they were also having a sort of, to extend their power, they were killing the Sikhs in Canada, they were killing the Sikhs in various countries, especially America, and their raw was caught raw-handed by doing this, and more so in Pakistan as well. And they also went to the extent that Balochistan, as well as in KP province, the way they were fomenting this terrorism. So all these things they were doing, and they were thinking they can go on and destabilize Pakistan, isolate Pakistan, a browbeat Pakistan. But this thing, I suppose it is a blessing in disguise, the way they thought and the way they wanted to prevail. But what all happened, it is in front of the world. And I suppose to recover from this, it will be taking decades.
Exactly. You know, that was all very wonderfully explained. Thank you so much for those insights. My next question is directed to Mr. Javed Siddiq. Sir, do you think that the situation regarding how Modi tried to target Pakistan was very ironic? You know, they tried to use the Pahalgam incident to blame Pakistan, to falsely accuse Pakistan just for vote winning, right? However, this ended up blowing up in their faces. Not only did the Indian military face a very befitting embarrassment, but also they faced a big loss in market value. According to their economy reports, they lost about $83 billion in market value. Was this a very reckless gamble on behalf of Modi?
I think Modi has learned a lesson now, because it had become a norm with India that they concocted an incident of terror in Indian-held Kashmir, and then they started blaming Pakistan. Before this, they also did it in 2019, and Pakistan had given them a very strong blow, and one of their pilots was arrested, who is still with us. So I think India is not learning lessons from the defeats that it has been given by Pakistan on several occasions in the past. Again, and you have rightly pointed out that Modi and Hindutva philosophy both are being used and employed against Pakistan. Pakistan bashing is a popular tool with the Indian government, and Modi particularly has a strong bias, a strong hatred for Muslims and for Pakistan. And whenever the BJP government wants to win elections in India, local or regional or national, they start blaming Pakistan, they start Pakistan bashing campaign.
Yes.
And this was a part of this Pahalgam incident. But Pakistan this time around had basically delivered a very robust blow, not only to their military, but also to their national pride, the so-called national pride. And you have said, rightly pointed out, that this has many dimensions. It has rattled India, in fact. And the economy of India has also suffered a lot, billions of dollars.
Yes.
So I think this gamble by Modi government has failed, and they are now realizing that it was a big mistake on their part. They used the Modi government controlled media to unleash a baseless propaganda against Pakistan, while Pakistani media was very reasonable and they did not air or any fabricated incidents, and they didn't rely on mere propaganda. Pakistan's response was very measured and very cautious, and I think the world has recognized that how Pakistan behaved in this whole episode. I think that the BJP government has learned lessons and will not try to bully Pakistan again, will not try to resort this kind of fabricated, concocted, manufactured incidents to blame Pakistan and to vilify and degrade Pakistan in the eyes of the international community. I think this tactics of Modi government that to create a scene, concoct a scene and then blame Pakistan. And now I think they have learned their lessons, and the Pakistani Air Force, Pakistani forces have taught them a lesson for future.
Exactly, that was
Right,
very
Javed
wonderfully
Saab,
put together.
And this brings me to my question. The thing is that we saw America change its stance. Now, when we take to India, India says that Pakistan ran towards the media campaign, the farcical false media campaigns on the Indian side. They mentioned that Pakistan ran towards the US. DGISPR came on air last night and mentioned categorically that Pakistan was not the state that went to the United States of America. As a matter of fact, Pakistan was busy defending its borders, fighting terrorism on one border, and the fight against terrorism did not stop while defending the sovereignty and integrity of the motherland on another border. Both missions were continuing on simultaneously. Pakistan was fighting on two fronts. Now, this is the capability of our army. And this brings me to my question, which is, CNN reported that India was the one running out for cover and ran to America for this. Now, when we take into account that first America had mentioned that this is a Pakistan and India problem, and then when India runs to America, America changes their stance and says that, well, a ceasefire needs to be put in place. How long do you think this ceasefire will last, taking this change of mind into account?
I think it depends on India, because some analysts believe that this is they are terming it as fragile ceasefire, and India could violate it again. So I think it depends on India, because India, as you have rightly said, that it was India which was finding in the international community, they were finding some allies, and they wanted to be rescued from this situation. A war that they had started, unjustified war. Let me tell you that Pakistan needs peace, and Pakistan's policy is that there should be peace within and peace without, because Pakistan's economy is turning around. Pakistan is on a positive trajectory as far as Pakistan's economy is concerned. So I think Pakistan doesn't want to provoke war in this region or anywhere else. So I think it was quite irrational for Pakistan to start a war or to provoke a neighboring country like India or any other country to start any conflict or any war, because Pakistan didn't want the consequences of that. Pakistan is now trying to rebuild its economy, which was very fragile a few years back, and Pakistan averted a meltdown of the economy, and Pakistan is, alhamdulillah, now on a positive path of recovery. So Pakistan wanted peace, Pakistan still wants peace, and Pakistan will never ever venture or gamble on these kind of things.
You know, that is exactly what was said in the press conference last night. Now, Brigadier Saab, I will come to you with the question that Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb Saab said something very interesting yesterday, and it brought a laugh to the room full of journalists yesterday. He said that I will start where I left off. Before starting to address the media, he said, I will start off where I left off day before yesterday. PAF versus IAF 6-0. And that brought a nice smile on everybody's face. When we take this into account and also take the measured response that was given to India, and taking into account that the Indian officials, they themselves conducted the press conference and mentioned that all the air bases and the storage depots for missiles were hit, not the civilian infrastructure. How do you see the world taking their eye towards the violation that India committed, killing 2 3-year-old girls, a 5-year-old boy, a 16-year-old girl and an 18-year-old boy in the first round of aggression, and then saying that we killed terrorists?
Yes, yesterday press briefing, especially by the three armed forces and their very clear-headed uh, representative presented the world view as well as Pakistan view, as well as the India admission, and plus the way it happened, and especially on the air as well as Navy, and of course the ground forces, the way they conducted themselves, and the way they fought against an aggressor. I suppose it was a very detailed briefing and very nicely and especially put on the templates of truth, facts, and whatsoever happened on the ground. Uh, I must appreciate the way they conducted it because it requires a professional approach. And once you are clear-minded and you know that what has happened and what blow they have inflicted and how it has been inflicted and what effect it has got on the Indian side. And of course, the same was, as you said, their briefing, the Indian side also admitted that 26 locations, which were the Pakistan's from where the missile attacks as well as the air attacks were conducted against Pakistan, its civilian population. The same were hit on the first silo. And then it was expanded to the ammunition depots, as well as there are 3-4 aspects of it. Number one, that we completely dominated the airspace. And once the airspace was completely dominated, so they took their Rafale to some safe location and they were not exposing them anymore. Second thing was that they were proud of their S-400 system, and S-400 system they bought from Russia, and it is one of the world's most effective air defense system. And its battery was also knocked out. First of all, it was incapacitated to the EW, and then it was knocked out. Next was BrahMos missile, which they were using against Pakistan, and especially its airspace was violated. So those two locations, again, its depots or its silos, they were knocked out. And more so, Pakistan conducted this particular operation on many fronts, especially the EW. The EW became a surprise to the Indian Air Force, as well as their defense forces. And they were completely blinded, rather they were confused, they were bamboozled, and they never knew what is happening to them because all their toys, their weapons system became ineffective. That was fantastically done by Pakistan, and it was a complete surprise for the Indian armed forces. Second thing was, of course, the way we delivered the blow, especially the Air Force and the J-10, JF-17, and of course the way they whipped the net for them to be taken on surprise. That was also fantastic. And 6-0, of course, it is a big score. It's a big score in the football. It is a big score, I suppose, in the world, any game which is being played. So the 0 is, you can say, it is also being shown in various matches which is taking place. Of course, then the duck is going with a heavy heart. From the playground.
Because there's a thought going on in my mind right now. I apologize for interrupting you like this, but my question towards Javed Siddiqui Saab. Sir, as Brigadier Saab mentioned, 6-0 is a big score. India received a big pinch this time. And don't you think with the kind of moral-less mindset that they approach problems, killing their own citizens, blaming the neighbor for it, running from impartial investigations and then creating war hysteria, warmongering by putting their own people in an information blackout and then who doesn't love a good joke? I saw a bunch of stand-up comedians from the Indian side claiming that they have taken over Pakistan. They're basically inside of Islamabad. So this warmongering, when we take this into account, don't you think that India would be very frustrated right now? Not India, but Modi's India. This farcical fascist India of Modi and Modi Sarkar. Don't you think that they would be planning something behind doors and there's a potential that they will violate the ceasefire?
I think yes, because India is totally unreliable. And, you know, they promised with the international community, they promised with the United Nations Security Council that they will give the right of self-determination to the Kashmiris. And for the last 78 years, they have not been able to carry out this promise.
Yes.
And they are subjecting Kashmiris to brutal treatment. Young people are being kidnapped, and we find their dead bodies somewhere else. And the Pakistan and the Indian military
Fake
has
encounters, cases of rapes, you know, all of
Exactly.
these things.
The rape is being used as a weapon in Indian-held Kashmir, and the world community is watching, and they and the European Union particularly, they came out with a report a few years back that that the Indian-held Kashmir, the most beautiful place in the world, has been turned into a big jail. So thousands of Kashmiris are in jail. The social media activists, they are being arrested and they are being tortured. And I think this has been a norm with the Modi government. And Modi has done away with Article 370, which gave a special status to the Kashmiris, and according to UNSC, United Nations Security Council resolution, this is a disputed territory. Its future has to be decided, but India has never carried out the promises, the commitment it made to the international community. So during this ceasefire, we must be cautious and careful, because Indians can violate it any moment, because when they think that they are capable of bullying Pakistan, they are capable of putting pressure on Pakistan, they do it. And they have done it twice in the last 3-4 years. And they have been responded very effectively. And I think Pakistan has delivered a very, very devastating blow to the Indian pride and its military forces.
Now, Javed Sahab, Eesha, my co-host over here, she has a question also, but a really quick point from you, Brigadier Sahab. One comment, a brief comment on the fact that Javed Sahab just mentioned that India is not to be trusted, especially under Modi's mindset. India is not to be trusted. They are a nation which are weaponized, as it was said by the three forces conducting press conference last night and addressing the media. Now the thing is, what is your comment on the fact that India is not reliable and India is not to be trusted in this ceasefire? We must remain vigilant.
Yes, of course, we have this history of more than 75 years, the way they are behaving and the way they are conducting themselves, especially their diplomatic corps, as well as their leadership, and especially from the last 2014, the way under Modi India is behaving, especially with their neighbor, and the way Pakistan is being on their calculus, the way it is to be damaged, the way it is to be diplomatically isolated, the way its economy is supposed to be degraded, and then the way they have unleashed this terrorism in Pakistan, and then they are making various false flag operation and blaming Pakistan, and then using all sort of whatsoever is in their kitty power they are using against Pakistan. So India has gone on very international agreement back-footed. Number one thing is, of course, the UN resolution on Kashmir. They are not fulfilling that. Number two is this Underwaters Treaty. Again, they have again, you can say, held it in abeyance. And then Article 370 and 35A, under which they have, the Jammu and Kashmir has been included, are under the Union. And more so, the way they are projecting themselves and the way they are doing. So there is a lot of difference between their actions and their words. And once we talk of India, especially under Modi, and the RSS is there, and then Hindutva is there, and there is no space even for their minority. So where there will be space for Pakistan? And once this, again, they recover from these injuries which has been inflicted on them, again they will be posing the same way, the way they were posing earlier. But here I'm adding one thing more, that they are no more trustworthy, especially on the battlefront, or the way they are getting the weapons from the West. Number one, they humiliated the myth of Israel by using their drones, which were brought down. Number two was the S-400 system. They bought it from Russia, and it was completely incapacitated. And then the Rafale, the way they were boasting about it against France, has been put into the embarrassing situation. So all these things putting together, I suppose it will be taking a lot of time for them to come out of this miss which they did and this blunder which they have committed. But more so, we never trust an enemy which is treacherous in its approach, and we never trust an enemy which is killing the innocent people of Kashmir, and we never trust an enemy which has got the people like Kulbhushan Yadav, and which has got a leadership like Modi.
Definitely, very eloquently said. With this, I would like to go to Eesha now. Eesha, Kulbhushan Yadav and India being here in Pakistan, and Pakistan having concrete proof, we did not monger for war.
We did not. Pakistan from day one wanted peace, wanted a neutral probe and neutral investigation into the Pahalgam incident. And which is why it is very important to highlight how what happened was that India attacked Pakistan in the dead of the night on 7th May. It attacked Pakistan's innocent children and innocent women and kids. However, Pakistan stated that we are going to respond at the time, place and method of our own choosing. We will give India a befitting response, and that we did, which is why it is very important to highlight that it was not Pakistan that wanted a ceasefire, but it was India who came begging on their knees, asking for a ceasefire, which was explained by DG ISPR in his briefing last night, and how India was
Pakistan was warning India for de-escalation from the start.
Exactly.
Pakistan
India was
did not want this war.
baffled by this response, truly utterly shocked, and this is what the Pakistani military said, that when we will strike back to India, not only the Indian military and media will know, but the whole world will know.
Right, right. And with this, we are going to move towards a break. It was great handling this transmission with you, Eesha, and we'll be right back with more on this. We have to go for a short news break, but before we go on that news break, a small question for you, Javed Saab. Javed Saab, according to the knowledge that you have gained witnessing all that you have witnessed in Pakistan throughout your career, how do you say that Pakistan handled this conflict in a very short sentence?
Pakistan has handled this crisis in a very firm and in a very cautious manner, and keeping itself within the norms of international standards. So I think Pakistan has given a strong lesson to India that never take Pakistan so lightly and flippantly, because you have created norms that whenever you want to bully Pakistan, whenever you want to pressurize Pakistan, you create something in your own Indian held territory, Kashmir territory, and then you start blaming Pakistan, and then a campaign of Pakistan bashing starts.
Eloquently expressed, sir. Now, one last sentence from you, Brigadier Saab. How would you say that Pakistan handled this situation? In a very short, because we have to go for a news break, so in a very short sentence, how would you express that Pakistan handled this situation?
Pakistan handled this situation as a responsible state in the world community. And that's why the DG ISPR said that thinking of a conventional war under the nuclear overhang is stupidity and sheer madness, and it is a sort of thinking which doesn't suit a responsible states or two nuclear states which are nuclear armed. I suppose that was a big statement given, and the way Pakistan conducted itself, it was up to the mark as far as the international standards are concerned.
Eloquently expressed. Thank you, Javed Saab, and thank you, Brigadier Saab. The transmission will continue. Up next, the 11 a.m. news, and who you will see on 11 a.m. news is Fahim Bangash, happens to be my coach and also my senior colleague over here, gem of a person. See you all on the other side of the 11 a.m. news. Take care. वो मर्द ही क्या जो डर जाए हालात के खूनी मंजर से, जिस दौर में जीना मुश्किल है उस दौर में जीना लाजिम है. Our Pakistani armed forces defended the integrity and the sovereignty of their motherland, and the world was witnessing. Now it is on the aggressor to abide by the ceasefire that is in place and not continue on with the aggression or the false media propaganda. And a part of this false media propaganda was the fake news and the farcical stories being built on the platforms Facebook and platforms of Meta, all the platforms, and X also, and the information blackout on the Indian people. Now, Eesha and I over here have been conducting this transmission since the day that this clash had started. And what we have noticed over here is that every expert that came and every expert that gave the candid opinion upon what happened here in Pakistan and how India was the aggressor and how Pakistan defended, Pakistan has been on the stance, firmly on the stance of peace. Pakistan does not want escalations. Pakistan did not want India to escalate. Pakistan wanted the Pahalgam incident to be looked into internationally, but India ran away from all of those things. And when we talk about international relations, to develop this discussion further, we have Dr. Hussain Shaheed Soherwordi, international expert, who joins us here online. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Here we are seeing India and Pakistan in a skirmish. Now, not the first, and hopefully it should be the last skirmish because of the befitting answer that Pakistan gave. When we take regional peace into account and the farcical stories being built on the Indian media and how quickly those stories were blown apart as fake by the international media, the world was cognizant. How, in the context of international relations, has India tarnished its image?
Thank you very much, first of all, for taking me on board on in your program. Yes, we are in a fifth generation warfare. Media has a very important role. We always say that every country speaks and they really believe in it. But the way media was used so negatively by India, believing in that probably that is the fifth generation warfare and whatever we will say, everybody will believe in it. That has really damaged, and it was detrimental really to their wonderful, amazing and huge media industry. But that really, they lost credibility. The reason was that entire media was there. It is known that world was looking at Pakistan from Indian perspective. It was because many media houses, like numerous media houses, were there in Pakistan, besides Pakistani media and Indian media. But when they were having a comparative analysis of what Pakistani media was doing and what Indians were doing, they realized that the Indians were living in a falsified world, and they were just claiming that they have probably occupied entire Pakistan and everything is so dandy for them, and it was just a piece of cake. But later on, everybody, not only when I say everybody, I mean every other media house in the world, especially Europe and America, print as well as electronic, they exposed Indians. And right now, conflict is over. But the question is, how long will it take for Indian media to restore its credibility, which they have lost in the last 5 days? So I believe that this is something very important. They have to work a lot. It is not that fifth generation warfare will show everything wonderful to one's host people. It is in fact the matter of the truth. I mean, you have to give a very good picture of your own. You have to show yourself a hero, but at the same time, you cannot hide. You cannot hide moon and the sun.
You over here just for a second. I am interrupting you over here just for a short second, but there's a breaking news that we have to bring to you as we are discussing the fake propaganda campaigns. The thing is that baseless news of killing of Masood Azhar's brother Hafiz Abdul rode circulating on Indian media. Both Indian government and media were busy spreading false propaganda. Now, Indian High Commission to UK showed pictures. This is big. The man that you see on your screen holding the picture, this man is the Indian High Commission to UK. Showed pictures of Maulana Hafiz Abdul Rauf's funeral on Sky News program. DGISPR exposed Indian media propaganda on Hafiz Abdul Rauf's killing in a press conference. Hafiz Abdul Rauf's latest video statement presented to media as evidence. Hafiz Abdul Rauf was associated with a political party. Indian government failed in its bid to defame Pakistan internationally. Now, the Indian media's fake and baseless propaganda has not been contained to India's media only. They have the audacity to step up and show up on international media with news that is now proven wrong, with falsified information, wrong information. Not only they are misleading their own people, but they are misleading the entire international community and failing at this sick, inhumane attempt of misinformation. Let's go towards the audio and listen what they had to say.
This person here is a sanctioned terrorist under the American sanctions regime. His name is Hafiz Abdul Rauf. He's the brother of the founder of the terrorist groups that you're mentioning. Look who's behind him. Pakistani military. Look at the coffins there. They have the Pakistani national flag.
Masood Azhar's brother has been killed in Operation Sindoor. That's Maulana Abdul Rauf Azhar. Masood Azhar's brother, Abdul Rauf Azhar, killed in Operation Sindoor.
Your own Pakistani military has said that Masood Azhar's family has been killed. I'm quoting the Pakistani military.
मेरे मुतालिक मेरे दोस्तों ने मुझे कुछ वीडियोस भेजी एक जनाजा पढ़ाने की. मुझे बड़ी ही शदीद तकलीफ है और रंज भी है कि बगैर किसी तस्दीक के, बगैर किसी तहकीक के मेरे बारे में इतनी बड़ी बड़ी बातें और बैनुल अक़वामी चीज़ें बयान कर दी हिंदुस्तान ने और उनके मीडिया ने, जो बिल्कुल ही मुज़क्किर खेज़ है और जिसका हक़ाइक़ से क़तन कोई ताल्लुक़ नहीं है. मेरी ज़िंदगी सबके सामने है. मेरे माँ बाप उस्ताद थे, मैं खुद तालीम दोस्त आदमी हूँ. मैंने पहले कॉलेज में पढ़ा, स्कूल में पढ़ा और बेहतरीन मेरी एजुकेशन रही.
Right, now this is the baseless propaganda that you saw on your screens. India has not contained itself to its own borders and its own media. It's funny how they had the audacity to step up, and it's laughable that the High Commission of India in the United Kingdom decided to step on international media and misled the people, whereas the Indian media itself gave the news that this said person had passed away in an operation, he was killed in an operation, and the person that is being addressed over here is coming online now. He is alive, but he's saying that he has nothing to do with these things. He is alive, but he is saying that he has nothing to do with the terrorist organizations that he is being linked to on Indian media. And now coming back to our transmission and coming back to Soherwordi Saab, sir, when we take this into account, what an embarrassment and what an embarrassing moment for India. How do you think that these people managed to come on air, on international media, and do away with their lies, blatant lies? And the people that were there, the martyrs, the coffins with the Pakistani flag, were innocent civilians, children, women, the funeral that was being held. And they are being told as if they are terrorists. People in those coffins are terrorists. A 3-year-old girl is a terrorist. A 5-year-old boy is a terrorist. Where is the mentality of these Indian people and these Indian officials? I mean, it wouldn't be wrong if I say, saste nashe kiye hue. What are we seeing here on the international stage happen?
I really agree with you. Honestly, I know you are asking wonderful, beautifully posed question. Basically, rather than engaging in balanced reporting on Indian side, much of the media resorted to sensationalism, and this is one of the episodes that you just explained, the way they have killed Masood Azhar's brother, the way they claim that it is so, and then I mean, like a High Commission, Indian High Commission in London is doing that, and then prematurely declaring victories and downplaying setbacks. In doing so, they created a disconnect between the public perception and ground realities. Now, this loss of objectivity, that has contributed to misinformation and fueled public frustration once the truth began to surface through alternative and international sources, and one of them is, from Europe, from another one is from the US. So as a result, the crisis has dealt a blow to the credibility of Indian media in terms of the process, highlighting the urgent need for responsible journalism, editorial independence, adherence to professional ethics, especially during the times of national and regional tension. The unfortunate episode is that in recent crises between 7 and 10 May, India media outlets particularly, and it's so unfortunate that mainstream channels, they were widely criticized for spreading unverified claims, exaggerated narratives, nationalistic propaganda, and one of them we just saw. You just stated that Indian High Commission is busy in killing those who are not killed, and those who innocent people, civilians were martyred, they were shown as a terrorist. This is something really unfortunate. And that is the point that I say, that the rush to control the narrative often came at the expense of factual accuracy and journalistic integrity that they have lost in terms of the process in this entire episode. And this approach not only undermined the credibility of the Indian media domestically, but also it drew skepticism from international observers, independent analysts, European channels, even Central Asian channels, Middle Eastern Arab channels. They are speaking really a lot about them. They are laughing at them. I mean, like entire Europe is at the moment laughing at them. Just read news. I am reading their newspapers for making my argument strong with respect to different perspectives that have developed. And I'm seeing them that they are so cynic, they are so critical about Indian media and their non-serious attitude towards such serious crises, declaring innocent civilians terrorists, and then claiming in Pakistan that they have almost occupied entire Pakistan, whereas the end of the story, conclusion of the crisis were different, that they were begging for a ceasefire, moving towards US, asking for their intrusion, interference, and then somehow playing its active role. Marco Rubio, he admitted that, and when we saw that he was really very proactive afterwards. So I believe that this is the high time Indians must revisit their media policy. They must use fifth generation warfare as a tool, but they should not expose themselves. They should not be notorious for all this the nonsense that they have created for themselves.
Exactly. You know, you highlighted such integral points regarding this, and I would like to highlight how India is not just using yellow journalism or sensationalization anymore. It is actually spitting out blatant lies to the international community. And what is actually horrifying about this is that it cannot affect Pakistan or the international community because we're laughing at it basically. But the horrifying fact is that they're trying to embed these lies within their own community, within their own civilians, and they're trying to manifest these fake, manipulative, false accusations. Is India actually a democracy at this point, or is it turning into a fascist dictatorship?
I believe that one thing is, I totally agree with you that they are trying everything, this falsehood, for the sake of their domestic consumption. But the question is that they give it such a blow and such a hype that they cannot control that afterwards. For example, they didn't have that capacity really to defeat Pakistan. They were unable to fight with Pakistan's Air Force. Everything was on record. Everything was just there. Independent analysts, independent observers were looking at the picture, and they had taken their nation to such a high level of this falsehood that this entire Pakistani upper hand was unable for them to digest or to swallow. And that is the reason that right now resentment is there in the public. In India, they are asking how come we were really claiming entire Pakistan, and in a jiffy of time, in just 5-6 hours of a Pakistani operation, everything was slashed Indian. Why was it so? So right now, it's not that their government will be under attack by the common man's questions and comments, but I believe that the forthcoming 2-3 months will be terrible for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because he has to answer many questions, and I believe that he would not be having answers because he have already given the things hype. He was unable to deal with Pakistan. This is one thing. Second thing, the Indian population is also questioning what will be the response of the US and Europe to their strategy of positioning India as a counterweight to China. Because if India has struggled even in a limited conflict with a relatively smaller regional power like Pakistan, how then can it be expected to fight with China, which is a global economic and strategic giant? So they are also scared of that even imagination. That is that one thing. And then it seems that on the part of the US and Europe, I believe that they have also felt disgruntled and dismayed, frustrated by the outcome of this recent conflict. They must now acknowledge that their gamble on India has turned out to be a strategic miscalculation, a disaster, because the Rafale's jet from France, Israeli drones, Russian S-400 air defense system all have underperformed in Indian hands, leading to what can be described as a multinational embarrassment delivered by Pakistan. So that is also one very important thing that West and America, including America, all of them are really pondering on whether they would gamble on India further vis-a-vis China or not. There is another very interesting thing that I believe that this must be spoken right here, and that is the European, when I say European, I mean European as well as American technological superiority in defense equipment. I believe that Chinese technology has proven to be formidable competitor to Western weaponry, if not superior in some aspects. And the failure of the French jet fighters, then at the hands of JF-17 Thunder, J-10 Chinese fighters, it represents a significant shift in global strategic reassessments with respect to international relations and strategic studies subjects. I was studying this subject very meticulously, and as a result, I believe that the demand of Chinese weaponry has surged. I saw a few quotations in Chinese newspapers as well as in Europe, which showed that reportedly there was a price hike of 35% increase in Chinese weaponry the moment conflict began and the moment conflict concluded on 10th of this month. So this is yet another critical dynamic of this war. I believe that with the passage of time, we will be having more and more dynamics of this 4 days conflict that has exposed many.
Soherwordi Sahab, over here, I would like to mention a point. India is a place where you have to be a comedian in order to be a part of the Indian political structure right now, because all of the comedians that we've seen in the last few days on the international media coming from India and doing comedy shows in name of politics, we right now have a serious breaking for you. And why is it a breaking? Because it broke down the enemy into pieces. The breaking news over here is Chief of Army Staff General Syed Munir's message. Operation Bunyadun Marsoos is a befitting reply to India. Pakistan Army has done what it had promised. Alhamdulillah. This was said by Chief of Army Staff General Syed Munir. Pakistan had warned India several times not to mistake Pakistan's desire for peace as weakness. I am repeating this sentence. Chief of Army Staff General Syed Munir mentioned that Pakistan had warned India several times not to make the mistake of taking Pakistan's desire for peace as a weakness.
من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله. And the translation reads, how many times it happened that a smaller force vanquished a bigger force by the will of Allah. History has proven that the complete nation and its armed forces have always stood together with all their might against any act of aggression. Alhamdulillah, we have the will, capacity and capability to protect our sovereignty and territorial integrity. And we are all well aware of the ways and means to do it.
Our forefathers, they have sacrificed immensely, and we have sacrificed a lot for the creation of this country. And we know how to defend it. If this great Pakistani nation and the Pakistani armed forces, if 1.3 million Indian army with all their wherewithal, if they cannot intimidate us and they cannot coerce us, these terrorists can subdue the armed forces of Pakistan.
हम सिर्फ ये कहना चाहते हैं कि ना हम तुम्हारी ताकत, ना तुम्हारी मक्कारी और तुम्हारी जारियत से मरूब होने वाली कौम है. Now you just wait for our response.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today on 10th May at the time of Fajr, we have given a strong punch to a coward enemy. Alhamdulillah. Nare
Today is 10th May 2025 and this is a smashing response to a coward enemy and it will inshallah continue. Nare Takbir! Allahu Akbar!
Chief of Army Staff General Syed Munir's message, Operation Bunyanum Marsoos, is a befitting reply to India. Pakistan Army has done what it had promised. Alhamdulillah. Pakistan had warned India several times not to mistake Pakistan's desire for peace as weakness, Chief of Army Staff mentioned. The Chief of Army Staff and DG ISPR have made it clear that any aggression will be met with a befitting reply. And now we are going to continue on with our transmission. As I was saying earlier, that I think under Modi's rule and Modi's regime, it is important to be a comedian first and be at comedy and then come on to national TV. And after coming on the national TV, put your 1.5 billion people, maybe more than that, because who knows how to conduct a proper census in India, because India, when we talk about census with a C and census with an S, India seems to be out of both. What I want to know is that how do you see this weirdly dramatized government that is trying to, I don't know what, destabilize India from within or maybe disintegrate India from within, the level of disrespect that they have for their people by putting them in an information blackout first, and then we've got jokers like that somebody, I don't know who his name is, but he comes out with the most preposterous things, and then after they've been proven as a lie and he received a slap on his face from Pakistan Army because he was asking for it, he decided to go live on Facebook and go, all right, we want to talk about fake news today, I'm here to talk about fake news. People don't want to look at his face right now, even from within India. Are we witnessing India disintegrate into smaller pieces? Dalits versus Brahmins versus Sikh versus Hindu versus Muslim versus Punjabis against Delhiites. Are we seeing disintegration of India?
At the outset, I must appreciate the way you are speaking. I'm like, your phraseology, the way you are explaining, especially with a cynic sense, is amazing. I believe that this is really an apt answer to the Indian media, the way they had propagated. I will honestly, let me go directly to answer your question. Basically, when this thing happens, that a country that's its sovereignty, territorial integrity, and then smaller in size is challenged, what happens that their military size, economics, strength, international alliances, everything guarantees then its victory. The might is right is over. This argument is weakened, and the credibility of large power is questioned. And you see that right now, India as a hegemonic country, greater India shining, India rising, has been questioned, not by Pakistani like you and me, but by those who are neutral observers, and they wanted to see India's rising and shining nature. That has been, in fact, eclipsed and diminished. We also see that the analysts and policymakers at the moment are forced to reassess the understanding of warfare, especially asymmetric warfare, where the small power, which is Pakistan, it has used its agility, its terrain, its morale, its innovation to the to level the field with a hegemonic so-called country like India. And this has further introduced a new case of strategic and military doctrines, often referring to academic and defense discussions that we are doing at the moment. So I also believe that this larger country, I cannot say larger power, because in the last 4 days, 5 days, they have proved it, that it is just a size-wise larger country. It often loses its grip on the media and diplomatic narrative because it is going on falsification rather than giving a strong argument. And because of that, the victim of aggression, symbol of resistance, that takes a height. In this case, it was Pakistan. So war started by India. War ended at India's defeat. And you can understand that what would be the situation then. So this further makes me forced to speak about that embarrassment and domestic pressure that I was just speaking about, that within the country, India, such outcomes can cause embarrassment for the leadership, for military, for media. Right now, just to turn on their media channels, they see their newspapers, you will see leadership, military, and media, all of them are questioned at the moment. Entire country is speaking, asking questions, and the answers are really short for them.
A very important question. I'm sorry I'm breaking you up like this, but this brings me to a very important question, and that is, the field of journalism is a field that portrays the image of a state on the international stage. And when we take our image on the international stage, we tell people who we are built from the inside. How has India tarnished its image via journalism and conducting it recklessly?
The question is that they have shown that they were intoxicated in power. They thought that everything is dandy. They are amazing country. And you remember that it was all since 2014 when Modi government comes into power. They in fact had infused in people Hindutva thought, RSS thought that they are superior by religion, not by race, not by anything else, but by religion. And therefore they had this intoxication, as per which they used to say that any time a war-like situation like 65 and 71 takes place, we will teach Pakistan a lesson. They came in with that intoxication. The ground realities were different. So this yellow this yellow journalism basically ruined and it gave a hype to the people's expectations. That was the time where the entire world realized that the domestic for the consumption of domestic population, media, whatever they are saying, that is absolutely yellow journalism. And the same media was witnessed by the international observers as well. So that was something that they were on the weak footing. They have really lost credibility. I'm telling you that in the next years, it will take years to restore that lost credibility. I don't think that world will really believe in them. Right now, all those media houses, representatives sitting in New Delhi, they are the ones who are reporting. They are not watching Indian media. They are not reading newspapers of India. Even very mainstream channels and newspapers are questioned right now about their credibility because they were really speaking out of the proportion. And that was something that was challenged. But at the same time, we also see that the defeat can harm the country in like India. Its global standing, it's damaging its alliances, shaking confidence in its supporters. At the moment, see that Russia is even questioning India. Even France, which had delivered the Rafale planes to India, they are questioning India. So allies may begin to reconsider the reliability or competence of the country in question, I mean India, as a regional power, so to say. I believe that in the last 4 days of conflict with Pakistan, India has lost many titles: Shining India, Rising India, regional power, greater economic power, hegemonic power in South Asia. India has lost so many titles that it had earned because of falsified reporting, because of their weakness in military and political leadership.
Exactly. You highlighted all those points very carefully and very well presented. We would like to dive into the fact about the differences between Pakistan and India politically. They did not just face a loss in regards to their journalism, but also in regards to their economy and also in regards of their military stance. So what did they actually do? They attacked Pakistan in the dead of the night. They attacked our innocent civilians. They killed the women and children of Pakistan. And when Pakistan retaliated, they said that we will give a befitting response at the time and place of our own choosing. So what happened was, after our response, India came crawling and begging, asking for a ceasefire. Yet Pakistan does not want to go into more warfare. It was quoted by DGISPR that a war between two nuclear nations is actually going to be an absurdity, and such a conflict will lead to the demise and suffering of about 1.6 billion people. The Pakistani military and the Pakistani government is still thinking in a peaceful and logical way. However, India is still being very aggressive and very hostile in their mannerism towards us. What is your take on this?
Thank you so much, Eesha, for asking this question. I remember when Narendra Modi took oath, he gave a wonderful statement. He said that I invite Pakistan to fight, not with each other, but to fight against our common enemy. Our common enemy in South Asia is poverty. So let's get together and fight against poverty. That was something really very impressive. But the question is that did he really meant for what he was saying? Like, he started doing the same thing that his predecessors had done. So I believe that was something that where the wrong lied. They were still looking at Pakistan from enemies' perspective. So what happened then? War took place. We really taught them a lesson, and then we were in a very good position to go ahead with that. And India went to US requesting them for the ceasefire right now. And it was 3 times that they went to US for the ceasefire. But what happened, the statement that was given by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Pakistan acted upon that. They stopped, not only they believed in ceasefire, but they realized that India is the hub of poverty. It is rising India, it is shining India, but actually in the heart.
Soherwordi Sahab, when we talk about rising India and shining India, I think it's like one of those jokes that we had earlier in our childhood. The child says, "Abbu main first aa gaya, lekin niche se." So I think when we talk about shining India and rising India, we are actually being told a set of lies, because a set of lies was told to the international community, first about Pahalgam, before that the Pulwama incident, after Pahalgam incident about the investigations. A bad pencil sketch was all the proof that they could provide, shying away from the international investigation that was called, and then coming out on media and talking like they've taken over the world. This is the mentality, this is the Indian mentality under Modi's leadership. Do you think an average youth from India will grow up to be a politically and diplomatically wise, trained person so that they can rule their nation, or they can take their nation on the path of progress and prosperity when we take into account who's ruling India currently?
Today, I have to answer you very positively with respect to what you just said. I believe that with the turn of the events in the last 4 or 5 days, yes, now Indian youth will realize because they have seen the actual face of their own country. They have seen the actual face of Pakistan. They were shown Pakistan as a weak country, as a country marred with poverty, but they are now realizing that Pakistan is a country to be reckoned with. They realize that India is just a balloon which has been just deflated by Pakistan. So I believe that right now the Indian youth will be on practical grounds moving ahead, realizing that what they have been taught was all false. One thing. Second thing, the future elections that are going to take place.
Sir, but Indian youth, Soherwordi Sahab, I am sorry I'm interrupting you over here, but Indian youth is more inspired by DG ISPR Sahab than Indian youth is inspired by the Indian leaders themselves.
Exactly.
And that is the reason why they had to block X accounts and Instagram accounts and other social media handles and YouTube account. Their youth is more inspired by our information minister Ataullah Tadar than their information minister. Our foreign minister versus their foreign minister. This is a diplomatic win on an international scale that your leaders end up inspiring the enemy's children. And when we said, Dushman ke bachon ko padhana hai, this is exactly what we meant. And do you think that the people of India have now been given an open-eyed view of the impractical leadership that is taking India towards a decline?
That's very right. This is what I'm saying, that Indian young youth is really very it's oriented. It really realizes one thing. Second thing, they have really better contacts through social media with the entire Pakistan. They can have a wonderful comparative analysis between how Pakistan is presenting its facts and how Indian military and civil leadership is presenting its facts. And you just spoke about that. So I believe that this is really a good comparison when they decide whether Pakistan is right or our Indian propaganda is based on falsehood. So this is one thing. Second thing, I believe that we have presented our case very strongly. We have shown everything online with the facts and figures. Everybody, if not consults Pakistan because it's biased, if India, because it is biased, people go for the third party, and entire world is right now reporting. So that is something really great. So not only Indians, but our own Muslim world is really, they are so inspired by Pakistan, by the leadership of Pakistan, by the people who are really coming over and is speaking in their own language. The way, when I say in their language, I mean English, and then and telling them that basically this entire episode, that conflict was into the hands of Pakistan. If Pakistan restrained, it was because they never wanted the killing of common man. But if Pakistan gave a befitting response, not in days, as was the case with India, 4 days, Pakistan gave just 5 hours of befitting response, and everybody realized Pakistan's strength. So I believe that this is also something important, especially I must mention here that this Muslim world, Arab media, they faced they think that the Muslim world they faced consecutive setbacks at the hands of Western sponsored, Western backed powers, and sometimes it was Lebanon, sometimes Gaza, and then Syria, and all these countries. And now with looking at Pakistan giving a befitting response to India, they say that now they drew a renewed confidence from Pakistan's success. This outcome could symbolize, I believe, a broader turning point in geopolitical perception and morale across the Muslim world. This is something really out of proportions for the Muslim world.
Taking India's behavior back and forth, the Indian government and Modi's India is right now behaving much like a pendulum. They try to exert pressure, and then they're pushed back, and then they come back, and then they say one thing, and then they follow another. Vice Admiral Naveed Ashraf Saab yesterday in the press conference where the DG ISPR mentioned some important points. Now, India was threatening Pakistan and was trying to create hysteria on Pakistani side by mentioning INS Vikrant being in the striking range, and then they will attack Karachi port and everything. Whereas Vice Admiral Naveed Ashraf Saab said that every time that they came within 400 nautical miles, they were being exposed. They were at a risk that we would have struck them hard and sunk them in the Arabian Sea right then and there. And they did not possess the courage to come forward. Now, since this ceasefire is in place and the behavior of Indian Army and Indian naval people we've seen, how do you think that they will hold up to this ceasefire? Because it's about to go towards 12 o'clock noon and 12th of May. So ceasefire expires in about 10 minutes, I think. What do you think? India will violate the ceasefire, will not violate the ceasefire, will hold up, come to negotiations? What would be the future?
I am quite confident that India will not violate ceasefire. And the reason is that there are many other actors at the moment from the Europe, from US. They are observing it. India violates ceasefire. It is already in an embarrassed condition. They would not by further disgrace and disgruntled attitude from the European and American side. So I believe that right now everything is so open that they would not dare to violate ceasefire. However, there is one thing. Line of control is undemarcated boundary, and you know it very well that even in peace times there have been skirmishes, there have been shelling from both sides. I believe that that border will remain warm so that India may a bit subside the pressure, the common man's pressure, just to show that that border is still warm and we are really fighting. Other than that, I don't think they are going to violate a ceasefire. They are at the moment direly in need of ceasefire. There is another very important dimension to your question, and that is with only these 5-6 days of brinkmanship, India has lost $83 billion in its economics. Imagine $83 billion. I don't think that they are going to extend crisis because India, as we spoke about shining and rising India, it has really eclipsed. So 3-4 days of a fight and $83 billion, just economics. I'm not talking about other sectors in which they lost billions.
This is something very important that you're mentioning. But over here, what I would like to do is, I would like to give a message out to Vice Admiral Raja Rabnawaz Saab for yesterday's message that he brought to light. He does not speak much, but what he spoke yesterday, it tore up the cover of the Indian Navy in front of the whole world. Pakistan Navy is not afraid of the aggressor in the waters. Why? Because the aggressor in the waters is afraid of Pakistan Navy. Sir, Vice Admiral Raja Rabnawaz Saab, we are proud of you as a nation. You are protecting our borders and you are the hero of this nation. Also, my message to Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb Saab, we are proud of you, sir, and the way that you mentioned that PF versus IAF 6-0, that made our hearts very, very happy. And also the message that you gave to the Indian counterpart that you're defending your nation, I'm defending my nation, there is nothing personal, but nothing tops the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of the nation. Do not be the aggressor. Also, DGISPR mentioning that Pakistan wants peace. Pakistan does not want war in the sense that you want war, but Pakistan will defend itself. Soherwordi Saab, this was a very interesting episode. This was a very interesting transmission. And thank you so much for joining us over here. And thank you for all the candid reviews that you provided and furnishing us with your insights in this. And in my studios, I was joined by the very wonderful Eesha, Rehan, and online we had you. I wish we had more time, but we have the 12 p.m. news, and that news is also important. We would have to wrap this episode up and this transmission up over here. And inshallah ta'ala, God willing, Pakistan stands for peace. Pakistan will stand for peace. And if the aggressor does not commit any aggression any further, Pakistan will not strike the aggressor. But if the aggressor decides to attack Pakistan, we will retaliate in the most befitting manner possible. Allahu Akbar and Pakistan Zindabad. That's all for now. Take care.